So, Keith, your Folger's grass bin's looking a little light lately here. What happened?
Well, you heard marijuana got legal, so the grass is a different type of grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the cat grass bin.
Yeah.
I thought you saw this before.
I have, but it's not looking so healthy, bro.
Well, we have four cats that eat this thing constantly.
Give us some Miracle Grow or something, dude. Look at that thing. It's sad.
I don't
What
think,
happened?
I don't think the poor grass can grow.
Grass is greener outside.
Yeah, in December, I doubt that.
No, really. It is.
Yeah, I water this thing every couple of days, but I don't know if it's not accepting it or if the cats just murder it faster than it can grow.
I mean, it's possible, but we'll do that and see.
Oh, and look at this. Producer
There
Andrew's pouring aqua. Is that grape flavored Aquafina? Oh.
And now the plant's dead.
I was thinking about giving it some rum earlier, but you know.
Oh, that might make it happy. Rum sounds good, actually.
There you go. You got an idea for today, John?
I got a few thoughts. I know we've been discussing a few things before we started recording here tonight, so I like the idea, wing it and see what happens.
All right, sounds like a plan to me.
It's time to hit the trail, lock in those hubs, and throw it into low range. Because you are listening to Wheelin' with Keith and Johnny Orange, broadcasting from the Thin Line Off-Road Studio. They're here to talk about 4x4s, trucks, and everything to do with enjoying the great outdoors. Buckle up. Here's your hosts, Keith and Johnny Orange.
So, John, finally, I've been talking to Chad a little bit, and it sounds like he's doing a little bit better. We're gonna try to get him on the phone here, and we'll see, if he can give us that SEMA report finally.
Sounds good to me.
Hey, Mr. Chad, are you there?
Hey, I'm here, guys.
Hey, thank you for coming on air with us finally here. You feeling a little bit better? I know your plan was to come on with us last week, but you said you had lost your voice or something?
Yeah, I was screaming too much.
Who are you screaming at?
The polite way of saying I was sick.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's a resisting urge to make bad jokes.
Oh, I just figured maybe
Check.
you'd hired so many employees now getting so popular over there that you were just yelling over the sound of machines all day.
We're working on that.
Don't lie to us. You were cranking out Christmas tunes, weren't you? Just singing to your heart's content.
I can see that.
It's been in the news about that. It's not good for your mental health to listen to too much Christmas music.
Well, I took it off The Office where that Andy character had recorded himself doing 4 different parts of the same song, and I just play it back through the evening listening to it.
That's awesome. I forgot
great.
about that.
Well, our listeners here, Chad, we actually mentioned a couple of podcasts ago. We have a couple things we need to catch up with you on. And the first one, going right into it, is, before we even get into that, we're going to talk about SEMA here, but how that, you and I talk pretty frequently, a couple times a week, and
Are you talking to him or me?
I'm
you're
talking
looking at me, but you're talking to
I'm talking. Yeah, cute, John, cute. No, I'm talking to Chad. We talk a couple times a week. I probably talk to you more than I talk to John, actually. So, no offense there, John.
No, it's fine. Let's see how it is.
Sorry, little guy.
What happened?
Nothing little about me, man.
What happened? You said nothing to me for until you were at SEMA, and then all of a sudden you're sending me these cool pictures. I went out with you last year. You knew I wouldn't have had time to go with you anyways this year, but was this a last minute thing, or is this something you had a secret planned for a while, or how did you end up? How did Chad McKinney of Quick Draw Brand end up at SEMA at the last minute?
So we got really lucky last year when you worked that booth with me meeting Silver Sport Transmission. They're the folks that do the Tremec transmissions and adapters and whatnot. And they had kind of brought it to my attention that if we could put a Ford Coyote bell housing together, we could get it into a Jay Leno build. So obviously the answer right there is yes, and yes.
When do you need it?
That hush hush up until the event, but it was a really cool thing to be involved in, and a lot of good companies were involved with that. So it really helped a lot with the credibility of the company and just kind of showing off to a ton of people, what we can do.
Okay.
The reason we had gone out there, was to make sure that we could get the pictures of the different vehicles we had our stuff in, and then just to go out and meet some different vendors and part sellers to get other parts for the applications together.
Cool.
So did Jay Leno? Now I saw the pictures, and we actually mentioned it on a previous episode that you weren't on, but we mentioned that you had met Jay Leno. We had seen some pictures online of that, and that had to be super cool. Did Jay Leno? I believe he's building an early Bronco right now with that Coyote motor and the Tremec. Did he get the first quick draw, at least the first production quick draw bell housing for that application?
He had the very first production one. We had been involved with another show that I didn't really have any interaction with. I just supplied the first prototype, and that actually was out at SEMA as well in another early Bronco. I want to call the show Brand New Muscle Car. And they also ran a Coyote with the Tremec, and
Nice.
we put the bell housing in that as well. But for production, old Leno got the very first one.
Nice.
Well, okay. So before we go into your SEMA report and all that, how was meeting Jay Leno? How cool was that? Was that kind of like a bucket list thing for you, or what?
Oh yeah, that's a whole new level. That guy, he's Mr. Carr. If you've got something on one of his projects, you've done something, I believe.
I've talked to a number. I've never met him. I've met a lot of automotive and 4x4. I guess celebrities.
Aficionados?
As aficionados, celebrities over the years, in the circles that I've traveled in. But I've never had the opportunity to meet Mr. Leno. But I know a number of people that have, and everybody tells me that in person, even when the cameras are off, he's just kind of down to earth kind of guy you'd want to have a beer with. Is that the case? To be honest, Chad, tell me what was your impression of the man?
I'm sure that description is accurate. I had 13 seconds to shake his hand and let him know how I was involved in it. There were a lot of folks that were involved, and a lot of folks just at SEMA who wanted to meet him. So you had a very limited amount of time. And in fact, maybe as bad as it may sound, after introducing myself and getting a picture with him, I actually chased down another photographer and writer for another magazine, trying to let him know what was going on. So
Nice.
my mind was somewhat preoccupied on trying to maximize our day and a half out there.
Well, that's business. That's what you got to do. You got to go out and you got to push and get the word out there. And of course, we're always doing the best we can. You've been really our biggest sponsor since day one of Wheelin' here. And so we try to push your products as well because we believe in your products too. That's, of course, well, anyways, okay, enough patting each other's backs here for a second. SEMA itself, did you have a chance? I know you said you were gonna, when I talked to you out there, you said you were gonna do your very best to walk around and try to see what you could, so you could let us know and let our listeners know what was really cool out there this year. And obviously, I've been out there myself with you, and it would take a full 4 or 5 days to see everything, and you probably wouldn't even see everything. So
Oh, yeah.
what was Chad's experience this year?
It was a lot easier this year not having to run the booth. You just go out there and you could walk around and meet the different folks you wanted to talk with and see the different exhibits. They had a whole new exhibit this year set up for the Overland experience, kind of the tents and the camping and the off-road style set up like that. And there was a really clean Scout that someone had put a Cummins in that, not someone, it was International Scout, International Scouts of Parts of America. They're out in California. I'll have to give you a name to plug on those guys because they did a really fantastic job on it. It was very, very clean, and it wasn't gaudy with big tires and silly suspension. It was just a really clean truck. So that was kind of neat. That was over in the Overland part. And then in that same tent area that we were in for all the new folks, there was a company that was completely missing the boat. They were selling an indoor car wash setup, so you can wash your car inside during the winter. But he had, by mistake, invented this grading system underneath the vehicle that he was using to catch the runoff and whatnot. And I kind of think if someone runs with that idea, that would be an actual product that would sell more than his car wash system because it you don't have a wet floor for the next 6 months in your garage. I don't know how to describe that very well, but he invented something by mistake and wasn't maximizing his potential on that. So that was pretty neat to see without him realizing what he had done.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be an interesting product to see for sure. Now, was it like just an expanded steel with like a hollow thing underneath it, or was it something totally different?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was very crude. He had not made it to sell it, but he made it to solve a problem, and I saw that and immediately, probably along with numerous other folks, said, man, that's what you need to be selling. Forget the soap system, sell the grating. And he was kind of, taken back by that, but I think that was an actual product he had made without trying to.
Well, this is some of the best inventions are pure accident with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that visiting that new product tent, or maybe not new product, but first year tent like we were in last year and went through again this year, that is almost a better experience than doing the rest of the show, because you're seeing things that folks are bringing to market versus what's already been on the market. One part of SEMA that was, I'll probably someday regret saying this, just extremely boring. There's just a whole section of tires. And how many tire treads can you really stare at before you're just thinking, okay, I've seen tires. There's a lot of neat stuff, and there's some things where you just think you don't need to bring this to the public. No one cares to see it.
I remember going down the tire row, and I thought the same thing. I just pretty much ran through that exhibit, and in the off road and the wheeling world, tires are huge to us, and we're always interested in tread designs and sizes and things like that. But it was. I don't know. I mean, just too many. It was the theme this year, too, the same as last year, where pretty much every single jacked up truck there was rims too big, tires too small kind of thing.
I hate that.
You know what? I think the theme this year was Gladiator. There were a lot of different Gladiators on 40s, not so much big semi or tractor tires, but just sitting on 40s with different applications. That kind of got overwhelming, if that's the right word. There's just too many of them.
Overdone.
With nothing really done differently. They all had their racks and their lights and their tires, but no one had gone outside the box. We had done a show earlier at the Overland Expo, and somebody had taken a Nissan Titan and turned it into a look-alike Scout, and it was unbelievable. It belonged at SEMA in a major booth, but I don't really recall seeing a lot like that at SEMA this year inside. It was mainly kind of like the same exact vehicles we saw the year prior.
Yeah, light bars, lift kit, oversized wheels, custom paint job, send it, and that's what it is, right?
Yeah, for what we got to see, I went there with an agenda to try to meet with certain vendors and talk with certain folks, so my mind was somewhat focused on what I was doing. But when I walked around, there was a really slick pre-war power wagon there.
Ooh.
There was something out front that's escaping my brain. There were definitely some really cool builds, but nothing like that Scout. I can't get that thing out of my mind. It was just as cool as it gets. It's on my Facebook page, I believe, if folks want to go see that thing.
What's your Facebook page, Chad?
I think that would have been under Quick Draw brand. I've got that Chad McKinney LLC, but I think I put that under Quick Draw brand. The company was, Steel Farm Customs, I think is who did that, and they should be out of Pittsburgh. I would plug them all day long. They did a really cool job on that thing. It was running the Cummins 5-liter diesel. They went and bought a brand new Nissan Titan pickup truck and turned it into the Scout. It was just super cool.
I think John's looking it up right now, and if he finds it, he's going to probably share that right to the Wheelin' page as well. But, our listeners, definitely like Quick Draw brand on Facebook and Chad McKinney LLC. He does do different things at different pages. Sometimes the older engine stuff you might see on Chad McKinney LLC. So if you're interested in a frame cut Cummins or a Detroit or a Perkins or something like that, watch that page. Where if you're looking more of the new products and the bell housings and the adapters, look at Quick Draw brand. So I like both of them. I'm sure John does as well.
Oh yeah.
So make sure both Facebook pages you like. Out at SEMA, walking around, you said, look, you had the new product booth. Is that where you guys were set up? Whoever you were with, or were you with a booth, or were you specifically out for the Jay Leno thing?
Yeah, we went out there just to meet with him, and I had a couple other parts or pieces and different builds out there, and just to go out there for the experience and whatnot. You just, you get it in your system. You got to keep going back.
Well, you got to walk around
really
more this
cool.
time then.
Oh yeah. But a lot more to see. If you're there for a week, you could probably see it all.
I've been watching and looking at a lot of pictures online from a lot of the different vendors and Instagram people I follow. I think the most impressive thing I've seen, and the style's still not 100% my style, but I don't know if you saw it up in close and personal. Someone had built a mid-'60s Chevy long wheelbase panel truck up on, I think, 40-inch tires with a Cummins in it. Did you see that truck at all? It was like a patina paint job on the truck itself, but then, of course, all the suspension and axles and everything was all fancy looking.
So that was the faded blue patina truck?
Yes.
With the 24 valve?
Yes.
I just found that video. On your...
Where he's doing the donut?
Oh, I didn't see a video. I just saw pictures of it.
No, he's got a little clip on the quick draw page of it.
Oh, is that where I saw it? Oh, it's...
You might have. That guy's name is Dude... boy, I tell you, my memory is really getting bad. But his first name's Dude, but I had met him because he had actually purchased a ISB frame cut from me, and I drove it up there to Cleveland to drop it off, and we kind of got to talking about what he was up to, and then I sent him a Cummins valve cover to put on that bad boy and a power steering pump, and that's probably where you saw those pictures initially. But yeah, he's been all over the internet with that thing. It's a beast.
Hang on. John's showing it to me right now, and I see the Quick Draw brand logo on the side of it. Honest to goodness, listeners, this was not a setup. I had no idea that Chad had anything to do with this thing. Now, I may have seen it while scrolling on one of his Facebook pages and not realized it was, but I'm pretty sure I had seen this on Instagram under somebody else's, and they were talking about it.
Probably did. I had no involvement in that really at all. I had minor parts, but that thing has been all over the internet because it was unique versus the rest of the 2012 F-250s on tires. It was just something different.
Yeah, I think I saw a video or something of that in a sand dune. So, man, really cool. Cool. I think producer Andrew is telling us it's break time over here. Do you have a quick minute to continue on with this discussion? There's something else we wanted to ask you about after the break regarding one of our discussions on a previous episode.
Yeah, that'd be fine. And just for a plug, his name was Dude Lovejoy.
Okay, cool. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Chad McKinney in just a second. Hey, it sounds like it's time to swap out that old engine for something better, John.
Yeah, man, but I have so much into my trans and transfer case setup already. I don't want to change those too.
Sounds like you need to call Quick Draw brand adapters. They specialize in conversion bell housings for nearly all diesel and gasoline engines, including the new 2.8R Cummins.
I like weird engines. I want something different.
Then you definitely need to visit QuickDrawBrand.com today. They have those hard-to-find parts. They also have used diesel engines available. You can call them at 513-446-9654.
Cool, I'll do that. See what they have. Thanks.
All right, and we are back. We're still talking to Chad McKinney of Quick Draw Brand, who generously is filling us in about SEMA 2019. So, Chad, before the break, we were talking about a little bit. We had kind of gone to that blue patina rod Chevy truck, and then John's still trying to find the video or pictures of that Scout you were telling us about. What else at SEMA? Is there anything else? I don't want to miss anything that you think was really important for us to see or hear about. I guess the floor is yours. What else is going on out there, Chad?
So we went this year over to the Apex part of SEMA as well, which was a whole different experience. It's more set up for the manufacturing and aftermarket world, I don't know how to say this professionally, not the cool stuff, just the generic stuff, intercoolers, wheel hubs, things like that, just all the companies that put that kind of stuff together. And that was a whole different experience. When you walk through SEMA, everyone's got their garb on with their company logo on their shirt and, kind of dressed down just there to enjoy it. And you go over to the Apex show, folks are in suit and ties with collared shirts and everyone has a clipboard. It was funny how much different the two events were when they were pretty much peddling the same kind of part. So went over there and met a couple of different companies that had involvement for what I needed to do to make quick draw grow to the next level, and just saw a lot of interesting stuff you would not otherwise see.
Okay, I think I have a picture of what you're talking about. A couple of times, many years ago, not with Wheelan, but with another entity I was with at the time, I had the opportunity to go out to the black tie introduction for the Detroit International Auto Show, which they do the day before the show opens to the public. And I've been to the public version of that show many, many times at Cobo Hall. And it's a different atmosphere altogether when it's more, business in the beginning there. And it's kind of nice because you know that the people that you are shaking hands with and, maybe having a beer or a glass of champagne with are folks that are genuinely tied with the industry, and they're not somebody that is there just for fun. So it's in my opinion, those types of events, as hobnobby or snobbish as people may think they're more important for networking and for really just meeting the right people at the right time. So I can see how that Apex thing would be maybe boring to the guy who's just there to look at the shiny stuff, but somebody who, from a business standpoint, seems like that would be worth it. Is that right in the building, or was that at a separate conference hall? Where was that?
Oh, it was over in the Sands. It was completely, if you want to use the term, across town. I mean, you had to take a bus from one to the other. And it was, we didn't hit that last year, but it was just a whole other horde of people, 2 levels of this crazy conference center, just filled with vendors. I mean, just filled. Just unbelievable amount of companies that show up to these things.
Were these still like top-notch type booths like you would see at SEMA, or were they like more like a business professional type booth?
It's kind of like a mixture of both. If you remember watching Indiana Jones when he's running through the market, and you've got all these little shanty shops set up where they're just peddling nothing. Downstairs there were probably, there were 200 vendors from China that were just peddling nothing but wheel hubs or brake drums and things like that you just can't imagine what the profit gain would be to bring that to this kind of show. Because just every vendor had the same set of wheel hubs. That nothing was different. So I didn't quite grasp what I was missing there. But other booths were just spectacular. There was a company there that was marketing all sorts of different rebuilt transmissions and warranties, and then you had the big players in town that were doing their part. Anything and everything you can imagine was in that setup. You just weren't seeing fancy paint jobs and things of that nature.
Was there a vendor with lug nuts? So I want to know.
Yeah, there was.
Seriously?
It was that kind of a show.
Yeah, so these are the vendors that are probably, like you said, China, foreign markets, things like that, and they're trying to China, Pakistan, sell
India.
to the big box stores.
It sectioned off. Yeah, they had it sectioned off in I don't know what to call that, continents, if you want to call it that. Countries of who was bringing what. But the part that I didn't understand is so many of them were selling the exact same thing. So I didn't quite grasp why they all had to be there. Because it seemed like it's probably just the same company sending 13 different guys to run 13 booths.
Well, that was kind of my same complaint going back to the wheel and tire thing when we were walking down Wheel and Tire Row at SEMA last year, and you had 20 different vendors all within 300 yards of each other trying to peddle their design of, say, a 24-inch truck wheel. And,
Right.
it's like, that's why it just kind of, that's one thing that, I can say this because I'm not a vendor at SEMA. I don't want to say it's a complaint, but, SEMA did seem to kind of put different themes together. Like you said, the new product area. The new product area, great. They had an area, I remember when I was walking through, that seemed to be kind of all the computer and technology area, and that kind of made sense. But if you put all of the wheel and tire vendors or all the brake vendors all in the same area. I get that it's beneficial to someone who specifically maybe goes right to SEMA for that product, but I think a lot of those vendors kind of get the short end of the stick there because they're going through and, they know that people are, after they see 2 or 3 booths in that section, they're just kind of running through because it's all the same thing.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. I think it's what you make of it. If you're going there to try to get bids or quotes, they had a lot of booths set up, nothing more than just for meeting rooms. So I think there's a lot of deals going on. It just wasn't my industry to know or care about. Okay.
Yeah, no, I get you. All right, switching gears here a little bit, unless there's anything else you wanted to cover on SEMA, Chad.
No, it was just another good year at SEMA.
All right, cool. Just real quick, John did pull up those pictures on your Quick Draw brand Facebook page and of that Scout, and those are awesome.
And everything we've discussed that Chad had seen there, the blue truck you guys were talking about, the Jay Leno thing, I did share all that to the 4x4 Talk page so people can follow along see what we're seeing.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I like that. Yeah, do that live as you can. So that way, like I said, people can see that on 4x4 Talk.
The only question I have, did you check out any of the paint or refinishing stuff while you were there?
No, I sure didn't.
There's, I don't know if you know, I'm not familiar with this. I know we discussed this in the after show the other day. So a friend of mine works for a company called Axel Nobel, and there's a guy, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly here, Dave Kindig, owner of Kindig Designs, and he's on the show Bitchin' Rides.
Yep.
There's the modern classic paint line that he has, kind of his signature line, was actually developed with that company, Axel Nobel, my buddy works for right in Pontiac. So that's right from Michigan. Cool. Yeah, I didn't know anything about any of that. That's awesome.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So he's kind of placing himself like a house of color, kind of higher grade stuff. Is that how that would work?
I think so. I honestly never looked at more than just the name, but I guess it's supposed to be good, high-quality automotive paint.
Oh, we may have to talk about that in the future. Project Excursion, after it gets all its new body panels, is going to...
you got to do that color-changing paint.
It's going to need
changes in angles.
I don't know about that, buddy. Chad, I want to get your... and this is going to be a plug for you a little bit, but of course I want you to also chime in. We wanted to have you on episode 32, so that would have been a couple episodes ago. Episode 32, we talked about the most influential gasoline V8 engines of all time. In a nutshell, we basically brought it down to 3, which would be the small block Chevy design all the way through the 55 through the LS motors of today, and the Chrysler Hemi all the way from the early Hemis to the modern Hemis of today. And then we also talked about the Ford Flathead V8, of course, and then our Ford, I guess it was an honorable mention, we did talk about the Coyote engine, which is based off the Ford modular design, which goes all the way back to the early 90s and is becoming very quickly a very popular swap platform for the off-road world in the early Broncos, and we've even seen them in Jeeps and things like that. Before we get into kind of what you offer for those different engines or anything like that, is there any, I know you're mostly a diesel guy. You've been a diesel guy as long as I've known you, but is there a V8 that you think really influenced the automotive and hobbyism industry that we missed? Is there something that, you just want to bring out real quick?
I don't know if it's something that influenced the industry because I'm not too intelligent in the gas world, but I know when you hear a 302 coming down the road, it sounds awesome. So, I guess I'd mention a small block Ford just because of the sound. If you get a good muffler on a old Fox body, even though the Fox body is ugly as crap, that motor sounds amazing.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was talking to a guy at work, I don't know, when we did that episode, and he said, well, did you bring up the 5.0, Ford engine, which of course is a 302? And I said, no, we didn't, because, it was really a downsize. The 302 small block was a downsized of the Y block. But I guess it does get that same recognition as a small block Chevy. You know, it was using all of the technologies developed by everybody else, but it really was a very good design. So I guess we didn't mention that engine because it wasn't something new that brought technology to the field. When the small block Ford came out in the 60s, there really wasn't anything revolutionary about it. And if there's a listener out there that can tell us otherwise and say, well, wait a minute, the small block Ford technology did this, then we want to hear about it. But
for sure,
you know, it was just they took their old designs, a little bit what they learned from what Chevy and Dodge was doing, and they kind of compacted it a little bit and just made a strong, small engine. But yeah, I agree with you, Chad. The old Fox bodies and the 302s, and especially when people swap them into Broncos and Rangers and things like that, they really do have their own unique sound. The mod motor that we were just talking about with Jay Leno's running, or he's running the Coyote, and the Coyote. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Coyote is the newest version of the Ford mod motor platform, is it not?
It pretty much is. They're referring to it as a 5-liter, and I believe they've actually got another what they're calling Coyote, performance, whatever it is. Again, it's just not my world to sound smart, but whatever they put in Leno's truck was some crazy horsepower, over the top deal. If you ever get a chance to talk to Thomas Kinzer at Kinzer Engineering, he'd be able to tell you all about those crazy things, and he is deeply rooted in that Bronco world. He's kind of the one that made that all happen with his connections at Ford. So that might be something interesting in the future to think about talking to him.
I appreciate that. We'll have to look into that. So, okay, let's do this as a bullet point. Let's do this really kind of quickly. Since we're talking about the Ford motors right now, what products does Quick Draw brand offer for the Ford gasoline V8 engines? What adapters to what transmissions do you have for those today?
So currently on the shelf, the only one I offer is the mod motor. So you'd have the 5.4, the 4.6, the 6.8, the 6-liter diesel, the 6.4 diesel, then the 5-liter Coyote, and that would all bolt to the Tremec or the NV 4500.
V10 as well.
Yeah, the 6.8 V10.
Mm-hmm.
Future thought process, if I can get the time to figure it out, will be running the small block and the FE motor. There seems to be a lot of response from that because those guys with those high boys want to have some type of overdrive, four-wheel drive versus their silly T19s right now where they're just screaming down the highway.
Yes.
So, that's on the paper to do. Just need to get the time to do it.
Okay. Well, that's good to know then. I do think also there are some V6s that use the mod motor pattern, but I'm not familiar with those. So I'm sure those products that Chad has or that you have would also work with those V6s as long as it has the mod motor pattern on the back. Switching over then to Chevy. The Chevy V8 design, which has the same pattern all the way from 1955 to today, what do you have for our listeners if they want to put a Chevy V8 gas engine in their rig?
So the Chevy V8 gas, if you're looking at the old small block application, I just came out with a new line for the T56. It's a cast aluminum bell housing. It's priced at $495. It's not SFI certified, but for a guy who's just looking to put a Chevelle together with an overdrive, it's perfect. It cuts a lot of the dollars out of the purchasing of all the transmission parts to get your overdrive working. So that platform, and then again the NV 4500 and 4050 application, we can bolt that behind an LS or a small block. I think that's pretty much it for the Chev side of the world at the moment.
Okay, and the nice thing about the Chevy having the same pattern, that's the small block, the big block, the straight 6, the inline 4, the 4.3 V6. There's a whole bunch of Chevys that use that same pattern. So, and I know you're working on a lot of stuff there. Now the Hemi world. As I explained to John on the V8 episode, the early Hemi used two different designs for their bell housing, with the most popular, I guess, late of the early designs, which would have been about late 51 through, or maybe it was 53 through 58, used a very similar pattern to the small block Chrysler, which is what they use on the back of the Hemi today. But then the 426 Hemi, which was the second generation Hemi, used the big block pattern. So we're really talking about two different patterns here. We're talking about the small block Chrysler pattern and the big block Chrysler pattern. What does QuickDraw have available for adapters to go to those?
So now, based on my understanding of what I've built here, the Gen 3 Hemi goes back to the small block pattern again. And that's a product that I've kind of focused on, the LA motor, the Magnum, and the Hemi. Again, we've got the cost-effective alternative for the T56 Magnum. That's that 6-speed Tremec overdrive, as well as the 4050. Both of which are perfect transmissions for almost anything you can think to do. So if you're building a Ram Charger or a Polera, whatever your interests are, you can stick shift those things and get it down the road with an overdrive.
Well, being that same pattern is the same or very similar to the early Hemi, the Rat Rod world, if they want to put a T56 or some sort of overdrive option manual transmission behind those, your product most likely, I mean, I know you can't guarantee it at this point because you haven't personally test fit that option, but your product, they're coming for you, John.
I didn't do it.
Hey, there's some sirens in the background, Chad. Your products very well may work for those early Hemis as well, for some of those Rat Rod guys, and I'm sure you're going to do more testing in the future on that as well.
Oh, for sure, yeah. What's kind of interesting with this business now is folks are actually sending in their transmission or engine to get different things to put together. So I'm no longer having to source the internet and drive around to different yards trying to find these engines that either are extremely expensive or just hard to find. Just people will send it in, we can use it for mock-up, and essentially just do an exchange, send them one of the products for using their parts, and everybody kind of comes out ahead on that. So that's really worked out well.
I can see in John's mind already the ideas swirling with he's got a couple ideas going there. So Chad, I really, really appreciate, as I always say, what you're doing for our industry and bringing all these different adapters to the market. And we really thank you for being out there at SEMA and giving us, your honest opinion of things, which is refreshing, because a lot of guys will be like, ooh, SEMA, and then they, a bunch of Instagram pictures of, jacked up trucks. But, you're telling us kind of the inside scoop of it. And that's really the type of stuff I want to hear about.
Absolutely. Never been, but I sure want to go.
Yeah. And then, like I said, your products are awesome, and it's great that you've got some V8 options for those guys that are swapping those engines as well. And I know that QuickDraw brand is going to continue to build, and someday, you'll probably be that guy to call up when I want to swap, some oddball Mazda rotary engine in front of a, who knows what transmission. You're going to be the guy to call, so.
Oh boy. Yeah.
T5.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think we're going to let you go, Chad, here.
Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us.
Yeah, John, you got anything else for Chad before we let him go? Yeah, I know I've been kind of talking to Chad a lot here.
I just want to know when SEMA is next year. Start planning to go now.
Probably October.
You almost have to get the good deals.
Right.
Nice. I like it.
Chad, once again, thank you so much, buddy. We're going to let you go here, but we really appreciate you coming on the air.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Catch you on the next one.
All right, bye.
That's it.
'Tis the season for the annual History of Christmas Tree Walk in Algonac, Michigan. There are 16 days to choose from this year. Visit December 6th through 9th, 13th through 16th, 20th through 23rd, or 27th through 30th to see over 200 trees displayed inside a gorgeous 9,500 square foot log home. For more details, go to thechristmaswalk.com or call 810-794-2300. For fun food to put you in a festive mood, visit Foxfire Fixin's Restaurant restaurant in Marine City before or after the walk.
Welcome back to Willing with Keith and Johnny Orange. We just got our SEMA 2019 update thanks to Mr. Chad McKinney. Admittedly, I didn't talk a whole lot there. But
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
I've never been, so I don't really know anything about it. I mean, just kind of living vicariously through the Facebook posts and hearing stories about it. I mean, I definitely want to go next year. That place sounds awesome. And I don't know why, but I really badly want to see a dealer that goes to an event like that and just brings lug nuts. I don't know why. It fascinates me.
Oh man, yeah. There's a lot of weird things.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about SEMA. And I didn't want to put Chad on the spot. I'm sure he saw some of the, this SEMA rush people that kind of booger stuff together, and it really doesn't look good. You've seen those fails online, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Last year when I was out there with him, the worst I remember seeing, and I'm not going to say the name of the company, partially because I don't know the name of the company, I don't remember it, but there was a guy selling swap harnesses for whatever engine, so XYZ engine, I don't even know, Chevy, Ford, whatever, Dodge.
Yeah.
And his booth was literally a used crappy pallet with a junkyard engine on it, and his harness sitting on top of the engine, and a sign.
I mean, was the sign printed on printer paper?
It might have been crayon.
I mean,
I don't know. It was like, man, you're spending, I think the minimum is like $3,500 for the booth.
Whew,
so you're
buddy.
spending all this big money for this booth, and this is what you bring.
That sucks.
A greasy engine on a pallet with, in a kind of crappy looking wiring harness that looks like it was put together in his garage, which it may have been, and everybody has to start from somewhere, but you'd think.
Yeah, I get that, but if you're going to, spend that kind of money to go to a show like that, I mean, you not only want to have something good to show, you don't want to ruin your reputation because of, that. I mean, that's, for... giving the guy a little bit of benefit, maybe it is a great, awesome harness, but he has a display of that low of quality, and this is how he's talked about.
Even if he would have
it sucks.
even if he would have say power washed the junkyard engine, and if that was his thing,
man.
It's a junkyard engine swap, so it's cheap.
Yeah.
If he didn't want to paint it pretty, if he would have at least power washed it and maybe put it on an engine stand
Yeah.
instead of a pallet,
Yeah, for sure. A little bit more presentable.
I know that was, but
I mean, it's like I said, maybe the guy's got an awesome product and awesome service, but still, market yourself, man. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, how would you, react if you went to a show and saw that? Does that make you want to buy the product? Not really.
No. I mean, I drive junk. I will put greasy things together, but I mean, you still have a little pride in what you're doing.
Yeah. You've seen my Jeeps.
So, but
the only plus side of all the oil leaks is I don't have to worry about rust on most of it.
I was thinking about that today with excursion, man. I'm going down the road and I'm like, man, I really got to get that turbo pedestal leak fixed. And I'm thinking, you know what though? It's kind of
Anti-rust coating.
Yeah, it's coating the vehicles.
Yeah, I'm dreading that project. I'm gonna wait till next week and it warms up a little bit more. I gotta drop the trans on Pegasus. I've been putting it off, and
is that your 4x4 news section today? Is that you got to drop the pan on Pegasus again? Yet again?
Not all of it. I'm debating if I want to fix the oil pan when I drop the trans. Realistically, it's only a few more bolts.
Yeah, it is.
But there's a lot more to it than just that.
What else you got in 4x4 news then, John? What do you got going on right now?
The rocker tube is just about ready to weld in on the driver's side. I got the whole thing prepped out. I just had a little bit of dry fitting, and then it's time to weld.
Okay.
So I got a little bit done there. Got some more of the floor cleaned up there. As far as the old rusty stuff, there's a little bit more rust I didn't take care of back when I first started cutting the floor out.
Well, the rust might have not been there. It's Michigan. Rust just, you turn around and something rusts.
I mean, it's possible, yeah, but no, I cleaned up a few spots and it's like, oh, that's a hole. That's not a pit.
Yeah.
So I just cut an even bigger section out. It's easier to weld a bigger section than a small one.
True.
So it's. I mean, realistically, it's like 5 extra little 1/4-inch welds, so it'll be easier. It'll be better. So that's really about it. I mean, I
You got anything else in
parts.
national news? Anything you've discovered, found out about? Anything like that? Anything you see on the social medias? I know we just looked at some of the things that Chad shared, and you said you were putting them on 4x4 Talk.
Yep.
So, but anything else out there? Is there?
Not really. I've been paying a whole lot of attention to, honestly.
I haven't hit anything either big nationally.
Yeah, just been kind of disconnected a lot lately. So
I wouldn't say that's the case for me. I haven't had something. The Tesla Cybertruck is still in the news almost every day.
Well, I don't watch news or regular TV at all. So I miss out on a lot in that respect.
Nothing like that. I did see. I'll tell you a funny story. Pardon me.
So good.
I saw what would have to be the worst off-roading. It wasn't really off-roading, but the probably the worst attempt at off-roading or something the other day at work.
Uh-oh.
So I'm sitting there at lunch, and I hear a truck behind me, and I just kind of look in my rearview mirror, and I go, okay, well, they're coming into the job site. It's one of the other trades, it's I don't know, the masons or whatever, they're coming in, and there's this guy in this fairly new like F550 Ford pickup truck, and he's towing probably a 30-foot equipment trailer behind him with a bunch of stuff on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's quite obvious this guy does not know how to drive with a trailer.
I'm not that good either.
He's cutting it way, way, way too tight. And he goes up over the curb and he tries to come into the job site. And he's got this trailer behind him. And he immediately, of course, hits the fence. And, so he backs up about 3 feet, thinking that'll be enough, goes forward again, hits the fence again. He repeats this about 20 times. Keeps hitting the fence.
Nice.
Well, and he had plenty of room to back up, go around the block. There's about 16 different ways he could have done this because it is not a tight turn whatsoever. We're talking like a 30-foot opening. And he's trying to turn off of a 2-lane street. This guy just could not get the concept. And I'm literally getting out of my car.
And what kind of truck was this?
This is an F550.
Okay.
Towing like a 30-foot trailer. So I start to get out of the excursion to walk over to offer to drive his truck into the site for him or something. As I'm doing this guy, as I'm starting to walk over, this guy gets all frustrated, puts it in whatever gear and hammers it, hits the fence yet again, drags the trailer, pushes the fence over by about 2 feet, drags the trailer up over the bent, the now broken and bent fence post, and manages to slash out his trailer tires. And then he gets out and he's looking at these tires and he's just scratching his head and just I don't know how this happened.
That's usually the type of response those people have.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
At that point, I just shook my head and I went back to eating my lunch, and that was it.
There was a time, for really good reasons, I'll have to keep some of the details out of this story, but there was a group of us on a late night off-road adventure on a not normally accessible side of the highway. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Another individual showed up who, let's just say, should not have been in the driver's seat that night, at all. And he got himself stuck on a fence. He ran back and forth, bent a T-post over, and, drove over this thing. He overheated his engine and trans. They were both pegged in the red.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how he didn't puncture a tire. He kept backing into the T-post. But the guy somehow got off the side of the hill and back on the road.
All right.
Yeah, we only broke one toe strap that night. It was impressive. I almost got run over by a very large truck that night, too. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, redneckery, man. Redneckery.
Yeah, it's fun.
Hey, I just thought of something else, and then I forgot it. And no, it has nothing to do with Michigan legalizing medical marijuana. I don't do that stuff. But
there's a bus that passed by not long ago. Had a big leaf on
did
the
it
side.
is that a little weird to you, seeing that everywhere now? Yeah. 10 years ago, it was, now it's everywhere. But
I don't partake. I don't really care. Whatever floats your boat, just don't be stupid about it. That's all I have to say on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
no, it was something I was just thinking out with SEMA and I'm sorry. Yes, I know what I was going to say because I was going to leave this to the after show, but it doesn't make sense. 4x4 news. I wanted to mention to our Patreon listeners, some of you listen to us on Patreon. We're wheeling on Patreon, but our show is called The End of the Trail Show. Now, we may start to redesign what we're doing with Patreon here in the future to be more efficient, effective, whatever the case may be. But we have had a little bit of technical problems with Patreon in the last couple of weeks. If you are a listener, both here and at the End of the Trail Show on Patreon, which by all means, we're always looking for people to listen there. It's our kind of a wind down show. As little as $2 a month, you can do that. You got to find us on Patreon. But we've had a little technical problems. We are going to have those episodes loaded. Don't worry. Our apologies. We're not sure if it's on our end or if it's on Patreon's end, but for whatever reason, a couple of episodes didn't upload. So we are not neglecting you. It's just you're going to get a couple episodes probably at once we get this issue sorted out. That's a little bit of 4x4 news.
information overload for them.
Yeah, exactly. They can just listen to a bunch of episodes.
And we swear we didn't record them all in one time either.
Yeah,
They're
we
all
didn't. We
separate.
didn't. They are separate ones. I don't even remember what they were about because I haven't heard them yet myself
Yep.
because I listened to them through the Patreon app.
I gotta get on that.
On my
Keep
phone.
forgetting about
yeah. Which, by the way, the app is pretty good now that I have it, but it is kind of a pain in the butt. Like if you ever have to reload your phone, you have to like re-verify it, and you've only got so long to do it. And if you're in a bad signal area, it doesn't want to. I'm not a huge fan of Patreon at this point, but I know that we can utilize it better, and I'm hoping that we can do that in the
we'll
future.
make it better for sure.
Yeah, we're going to get there. John, we talked to Chad a lot longer than we were planning on in this episode, but I'm glad we did. We finally caught up to him. I'm glad he's feeling better. What else, man? Do you want to?
Nothing I can think of. I know we discussed some of our topics for today. The show went a little shorter. We'll push till next time. Maybe
Sure.
make a more holiday and they call it a 'tis the season episode.
Are we drinking eggnog during that one then?
Maybe.
That sounds
see what
good to me. I haven't had any this season yet.
Only the Scarong, the good stuff. But
Usually I have eggnog by Thanksgiving, and I have not had eggnog this year.
I don't know if I have or not.
Yeah, no, I haven't had it. So,
Yeah, we'll fix that.
all
We'll
right.
fix that.
Well, John, why don't you sign us off, and let's go over to the End of the Trail Show. And if people want to listen to us, they can sign up on Patreon, and they can catch what is technically kind of the last 20 minutes or so of this show.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for listening, and have a good one, everybody.